Not Nerd Podcast, Episode 318, 6 Year Spectacular.
Welcome to the Not Nerd Podcast. I'm Nate Heath, and we are here to help you tech better. Here with me, as always, for 6 years now, Mr. Dave Baylor, mouthing my every word, trying to mess me up for the intro.
Yeah, I thought it would be fun to just mock you the whole time you're doing the intro to see if I could get you caught off guard. But you caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting the 6 year part, you know.
Yes. I changed it up even with the distraction.
Yes. So 6 years. Can you believe it?
I cannot.
Nate, what have you done consistently for 6 years?
Not much.
Other than being an all-around nice guy, of course.
Yes. Yeah, I don't. Well, I've DJ'd at the bar for 11 years now, but I had to take some breaks from that for COVID unwillingly, and then, or for closures.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I've ever had a full-time job for more than 6 years.
You probably haven't. Many of us haven't.
Yeah.
So it's a thing.
Yes. Yeah. So we have been consistent with that, and we will we plan to consistently keep doing that, consistently flub our words around.
Yeah, we might hear that later.
Often do. Yes. There will be a remix at the end of the episode. If you are not listening to the end of the episode when Dave inserts some of the stuff he cuts out, it is always one of the highlights of my week. Someday we'll do a mega mix of all those.
Yeah. It's just
maybe we can hire Todd Workhoven to do that, because he does the mega mix of all their dad jokes from the Mark and Todd cast, and that's always a joy as well. But
yeah, yes. Many people may not know that I edit the show without you around, and then you're hearing the edited show for the first time, just along with everybody else. Well, you listened first for the show.
Yes, I listen before we post it. We have a very convoluted setup. We make things very complicated, but we want to bring you a good product. So,
but you have no editorial decision making before it gets posted.
No, I do not. But I have trusted you with that, and you do an excellent job.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Well, let us get into some follow-up. We had, speaking of editing, you did some extra editing on your One Backup is None Backup ad last week. And as I was listening to that, I remembered I purchased onebackupisnonebackup.com.
Did you? Okay.
Yes, which redirects to our backup page on the Not Nerd site, where it's got some different info and the Backblaze link there. So, and I also tried Googling One Backup is None Backup to see if anybody else is using it. And there's some of the other posts for, the 3-2-1 backup method, 3 copies of your data in 2 locations.
Yeah.
With 1 offsite, I think, maybe. Whatever the philosophy is there. But right at the top, it's got the quote from our backup page on Google. So if you want to go to Google and type in One Backup is None Backup, just like a regular sentence that people use every day.
Yeah.
It will show that, and then you can get to the page.
It's a household phrase at this point.
Yes. And I will give you another little pro tip. If you want to have some fun on Google, type in the word askew into the Google search bar.
All right,
Dave is doing it.
I'm doing it right now because I use, I think I'm either on DuckDuckGo or the Brave search. So I had to actually go to google.com. So ASQ.
ASKEW.
Okay. It just says not a straight or level position.
Do you notice anything else?
Oh, yeah, it is a little. The whole page is turned.
The whole
about
page
10
is
degrees.
a little askew. Yes, one of those fun little Easter eggs in Google that I saw somewhere the other day. And so I thought I would share that with our listeners.
Man, that'd really mess up somebody if you just scroll down a little bit and be like, what's wrong with my page here?
Yes.
Anyway, thanks for letting me know that so nobody pranks me later.
Yes, exactly. Another thing we were talking about, resolutions and what all that means last week. And now by the time you hear this, you've really given up on your New Year's resolutions. Hopefully not, but statistically you probably have. But I was listening to somebody that really had some great perspective. Somebody was asking them, and they said, and it's kind of like what we were talking about, so I just want to reinforce how smart we are. Pick bite-sized chunks. Let's just say, I'm going to quit smoking this year. Well, you've got to have more of a plan than quit smoking, because you're going to wait till December 31st and say, okay, today's the day I'm going to quit smoking. So I'll smoke one less cigarette per day. Or if you say, I want to get up earlier, well, maybe do it in 15 increment chunks. Don't try to start waking up 3 hours earlier. And you're just setting yourself up for failure if you try to bite off too big of a chunk. So I just thought that was good. Yes, incremental goals, the short-term goals like we were talking about.
And I did a quick search on incremental on google.com, and it does not show the page a little bit at a time. It shows the full page at once.
Oh, what a bummer. Come on, Google. If anybody at the Google search team is listening, please incrementalize the incremental search results. Our next piece of follow-up, we didn't get to the story quick enough, but Apple becomes the world's first company with a $3 trillion market cap, which it quickly tipped back below that.
Yeah.
But that is pretty crazy. And as we're on our 6-year anniversary here, it's pretty crazy to think over the last 6 years how far Apple's stock price has come. And it is, according to the Apple Stocks app, which if you can trust that, with the current stock structure, so they had a reverse split.
Yeah.
5 years ago, it was at $30, and now it is currently at $172. So if you would have listened to the first episode of Not Nerd and thought, hey, these guys like Apple, I should buy some Apple stock, you would have done very well. Or if I would have actually bought some Apple stock at that point.
Yeah. Again, don't take advice from us, but I have this thing where I think every month $5 or $10 just of stock automatically gets purchased from my account. I'm a big time investor. I know a lot of you can't afford like $5 a month or $10 a month.
Yeah.
But big spenders like me, that's kind of how we do it. That's how we roll.
Yeah. So their market cap currently stands at 2.82 trillion. So pretty much going out of business there. But yeah, it's they are the first to hit the 3 trillion, which it feels like it was just a year or so ago we were talking about 2 trillion. But you often mention that, once you hit those milestones, they just keep getting bigger and bigger. Yeah,
2 trillion was hard to hit, and they went down when they hit it, and now look, a year or so later, they're 30% up again. So
yes. And just for some reference, Amazon's currently at 1.64 trillion. Google is at 1.81 trillion. Facebook is at 923 billion. And let's see what else we got there. Yeah. And then if you even look at, like, I have a bunch of them here, like Nike's 248 billion, so these big companies you think of. Microsoft is the second biggest one I have at 2.35 trillion. So
yeah.
And GameStop is at 10.74 billion.
That much.
Remember that whole thing with the GameStop stock. That was about a year ago when that whole thing went crazy with that.
I'm still holding.
Still holding. Me as well. Well, it was CES this last week. I saw probably the least amount of coverage I've ever seen, but I did listen, like Rich on Tech, previous pick of the week, his podcast, he did go to CES and he was talking about some of the products, and but yeah, just not a lot of people went because of the Omicron concern, and a lot of the companies backed out. But I did find The Verge put together their Verge Awards at CES 2022.
Yeah, I did watch Dieter Bohn's of The Verge. His video was about 10 or 15 minutes where he kind of did a large look at what was at CES in regard to tech and auto and all that stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So just going through here, the Samsung Odyssey Arc was the best in show. Now, this is a monitor, which was, I think it was a couple years ago that Samsung did the curved monitors that kind of wrap around you horizontally. Mm-hmm. Well, this one arcs towards you vertically. So I don't know these monitors. I have never had an urge for a curved monitor.
Well, this is where I think it comes into play. I used to have a setup where my laptop was on my desk, and then I would have a floating monitor above the laptop. And so my second screen was above, and you could watch something. It's not a bad setup, and I may go back to it here soon. But the way this one works is you can set inputs for different sections of the screen. So you could have your computer on the bottom, you could have your gaming console in the middle, and you could have like CNN at the top or something like that. And so 3 devices can be going, but you're looking at a section for your computer that is horizontal, even though there's 3 stacked displays. So that's one way to use it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically if you took a 55-inch TV, bent it, and then turned it vertically. Yeah, that's what you're getting with this one. Which my thing with this is it's probably going to be. I didn't see a price on it, but it's probably going to be ridiculously priced,
like $100 probably or something like that.
Their old Odyssey G9 was $1,000. Went on sale for $1,000. So this one will probably be more than that. So I'm guessing probably not going to be high on anybody's lists. Mm-hmm. Best laptop is some ROG Zephyrus G14 gaming laptop. Which, of course, all these other companies at CES get a chance to have the best ofs because Apple doesn't release anything at CES.
Right.
The Sony A95 QD OLED 4K TV is the best TV, which is...
Look out, though. Samsung has got an OLED TV coming out in a couple months that I don't know that they were ready in time for CES, but...
Yes. Now, this one, there was a lot of car announcements, and one of the things that I thought of you immediately when Rich on Tech was talking about it, there is a e-ink paint BMW 9 or iX concept car, and the headline on this article in the Verge article actually says BWM. So they spelled BMW wrong, which is tough to do.
Wow.
But the paint job, they used e-ink, so like a Amazon Kindle device or whatever, where you could actually change the color just between white and black of the car. But I was wondering, would you be able to read a book on the outside of your car?
Interesting. I wonder if one section is a big pixel, or does each section have
what kind of resolution we have?
So that's interesting. But what happens when a shopping cart blows across the lot and hits the side of your car? Is it going to break your paint?
That's going to be an expensive ding there. So yes, that is purely concept, but kind of interesting. The best robot is Robot Shelf, and it's
we have robots now where we can just have a best of. I didn't realize that we just have robots.
Yes. The Labrador Retriever is the name of it, and it looks like a shelf on wheels, and it says that it would be able to retrieve a beer from the fridge for you only if you've added motors to the fridge door and put the beer on an accessible shelf.
Yeah. So a lot of this one use case was, let's say you're in a wheelchair and your mobility is limited. It might be nice to have something following you around where you could put items on it. If you're not able to carry them, it's just kind of like a little trailer, a wireless robotic trailer, which was pretty cool.
Yes. And best wearable, the Garmin Vivo Move Sport. Is a smartwatch for Garmin, which they have done. We've talked about them before. They've done very good for athletes, hardcore athletes. They're watches that have some advantages over the Apple Watch. But
my son has one, so
yes, so he could upgrade to the Garmin Vivo Move Sport. Best gadget for a smart home: the Masonite Smart Door. It's what I love
Don't
about
they make suitcases?
Yeah. What I love about the Masonite Empower Smart Door is that it's not a gadget. It's all the gadgets. The Smart Door puts every device you need to control the main access point to your home in one. A video doorbell, a smart lock, motion activated smart lighting, even door sense capability to warn you when it's left open. And it's powered by your home, not hundreds of disposable batteries. But wow. I guess I was reading it looks like you have to use like different apps to control different aspects of it. But it is an interesting concept with the smart door lock like I have, and then a video doorbell like you have. If you could have those combined into one, if it worked well,
I guess so.
Might be interested. And we had some electric cars. The best one they said was the Chevy Equinox, which we're going to be seeing more and more electric cars coming from every direction. The most Samsung thing Verge decided is NFT support on Samsung TVs.
Yeah.
Which
Dieter was saying on his video, hey, everybody, just don't buy NFTs from Samsung. Just don't do it. So, but yeah, if you know what an NFT is and you want to purchase one, you can now purchase one on upcoming new Samsung TVs, and you can display the artwork that you purchased right on your TV.
Yes. The then they have I like this category. The best thing we'd actually buy is the Schlage Encode Plus Wi-Fi door lock.
Yeah. So what is this? What does it do?
So it says that this one, it uses Wi-Fi, but you can unlock it with your watch or your phone. So you just kind of walk up. But my door lock unlocks when I pull into the driveway. So then I don't have to wave anything in front of the door. So I don't know what the advantage is of this.
That's good to know, because I'm going to stand in front of your house
and then wait for me to pull into the driveway.
And when you pull in, I'm going to rush in, and then I'm going to lock the door.
Yes.
And then I guess I have to hold it, because you could just unlock it with a button. Anyway, I haven't fully fleshed out this idea, but believe me,
you're going to break into my house.
Some breaking and entering going on here.
Yes. The LG C Series 42-inch OLED TV. And then this next one, the best gimmick. TP-Link, which I like their Wi-Fi stuff. They now have a router with motorized antennas that will seek out the best signal possible. So, you have the different antennas on your router. You might point them in different directions to get better signal. Well, this one has motors in there to do that for you, which definitely seems like a gimmick to me.
It seems very unnecessary.
Yes.
This stuff just goes on and on.
It does. The best thing we'd buy if the price was right, the L'Oreal Color Sonic. So this looks like, I didn't even read about this one, a smart device maybe that helps dye your hair. I don't know if we need that. And the last one is a Samsung Freestyle projector, which...
This was pretty cool, but the price is kind of high. And I watched some video on this. So it's about the size of a large tumbler mug. You might have a soda or coffee in or something like that.
Yes.
And it's on a stand, much like a telescope might be. It's a cylindrical object, and it will auto negotiate and navigate to find the best angle and focus and everything. So if you are directly in front of a wall with a projector, but you want the image to be 10 feet to the left, well, you can set it 10 feet to the left, and it will automatically do the keystoning and everything, so that it can display on an angle, if that's your preference.
Yeah.
Or you can shoot it on the ceiling for different modes. So it seems kind of fun, but it comes in around $1,000. And I was like, for a toy projector, this is a little much.
Yes. And then I have a link in the show notes to the Washington Post of the weirdest and most interesting tech. And there's gaming clothing. And I think because the show was not as big, we didn't get as much of the weird and obtuse products. But yeah.
Well, those companies aren't going to pay to come if nobody's going to be there.
Yes. And cat fitness trackers, biometrics for your pets. I mean, come on.
Well, there's a market out there.
Yes.
I wish that I had. I'm distracted by this picture of this stuffed cat with the guy's finger in its mouth.
Yes,
this adorable robot wants to make you happy. The only catch, it wants to bite you gently to do it. What?
Come on.
What is going on?
Yes, I was around a real puppy this weekend that was aggressively trying to bite my hand, and it did not bring me a lot of joy. But yeah, CES, laptops, this, that. And like we've talked about in years before, a lot of this is just really prototype stuff. And it's kind of like Fashion Week in New York. It's all stuff that the average person is not going to be buying anytime soon. There is a air purifier noise canceling earbud combination. So it's like a neck horseshoe around your neck that does some air purifying and then has earbuds coming out of it, which to me is two things that don't need to go together for any reason at all.
Yeah. So Purifier, since this is a combo device, reminds me that you could design a fireplace that also purifies the air. It's a Purifier. Get it?
Ooh, trademark it. Trademark it before we publish this episode, because somebody will take that from you for sure. That will be coming.
Our large listener base out there.
Yes. And speaking of our large listener base, we did not give much time for everybody to get their calls in. We did get a couple. We did hear from a couple people that we're going to work on some stuff for soon. But if you do ever have a question, I think the listeners would love to hear more voices than just ours so consistently. So just call the phone number 608-618-NERD and leave us a message. And if you've got questions, tips, picks, any of that stuff, definitely let us know so that we can break up our monotonous tones a bit with other voices.
Yeah.
So that being said, our first call.
Hey guys, it's Wes, your number one fan and proud member of the One Backup is No Backup Army. Just want to say congratulations on 6 years. Keep it up. Love it. Listen to you guys every week. Keep it up. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, a couple things. Thank you so much, Wes, for calling in. You may or may not be our biggest fan.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't publish those metrics. So
yes. Maybe that will be something for 2022 is to have some sort of contest to find our number one fan, but he would be up there.
He would be up there. And secondly, don't forget, it's one backup is none backup, not one backup is no backup. We do not use proper English here at the Not Nerd Podcast.
That is something consistently that I try to do is mess with the English language. Like whenever I type in tech better and it tries to correct it to teach better. And I'm like, no, tech better is what I want to say. Who cares if it's English?
Not to mention tech betterer, which I mean, try to spell that one.
Yes.
Well, that was fantastic. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Wes, for doing that. He's been on the show before. He has had backup woes in the past that we have discussed and many other things. So thank you for your support. I know he usually listens to us when he's out on a run. So he is.
Don't trip.
I think that, yes, I think that technically counts as exercise for us.
Yeah, it does.
He listens to our podcast while running. So maybe I'll let him borrow my Apple Watch so I can get credit for his working out.
Well, there's quantum entanglement is a thing. And so our voices entangled with, it's complicated, but I'm sure you're correct.
Yes. And our second message.
Hi, this is Chelsea. I'm a longtime fan of the show. Just want to say great job, you guys, on 6 years. And I have been really impressed at your commitment to the show, and I enjoy listening every week. And I hope that you'll have many more years ahead of you doing the podcast. My question is, what new technology thing are you most excited about that should be coming up on the horizon or might be coming up soon? What's something that you're interested in and looking forward to? Thanks. Bye.
Wow. Well, thank you, Chelsea, for calling in. Now, I don't know if there's some veiled read between the lines stuff there where I've been listening. I really admire you guys for sticking with it and doing all that stuff. Is she really being facetious and being like, come on, Nate, can you just stop this thing already?
Come downstairs and hang out with us, please.
Yeah, all this time you devote to this thing that earns you negative money. Come on.
Yes.
But thank you. And I'll go first since it's fresh in my mind what my tech thing might be. I keep seeing, and some of the CES, they brought some of it out, these flying cars. Now, it's not what you think, a sedan with wings and a rocket in the back. It's basically what's my love language? Quadcopters, drones. It's basically a drone motorcycle that you sit on, or sometimes there's one you're enclosed in a small one-person cab, and they've got these things that will fly level about 3 or 4 feet off the ground and just zoom along at like a really fast speed. So can you imagine, Nate? Now we have the Tualatin Wildlife Refuge around here. It's probably not recommended to fly any type of drone over there. It's actually a federal thing. You're not supposed to.
Yes.
But imagine if I wanted to get across that, there's lots of water and embankments and some trees and different things. I could easily scoot across that with one of these flying drone car type things. Off-roading would have a whole new meaning. You'd never touch the ground.
Yes.
Anyway.
And even more important, some local geography, just navigating Tualatin Sherwood Road and not having to sit in the traffic there would be
fly over them. Yeah. But these are real things. They're in limited production. They're right now, I'm sure, for the super rich, and they're more of like an ATV type thing versus like a car. But a one person thing like this, take it out in the wilderness somewhere, would just be phenomenal to fly around.
Yeah. No, I think that stuff is very interesting. Very flight can be a very efficient time wise. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And as
what is this? The Mark and Todd cast?
Yes, that's the extent of my science knowledge at all. But yeah, and I think kind of tying on to that might become more widespread is just the idea of autonomous driving. And then there was some story I didn't put in the show notes that I saw this past week where they were talking about, I believe it was like a car rental service, but they have basically drivers, VR drivers that are in an office where they deliver the car to you, then you use it, and then they drive it back to wherever it's stored. And I think, between autonomous driving and a service like that, and then the flying vehicles as well, I think that like the next 5 to 10 years, it's really going to revolutionize transportation. I mean, my 2004 Honda CRV is still hanging on, but what if I could make that last a couple more years, and then I just don't need to buy a car because there's just these cars that show up at my house when I need to go somewhere. I get in, it's like, somebody's driving me, a chauffeur, only it's AI. Yeah. And I think there's a ton of potential there with just the way that transportation is going to change over this next decade. And we'll look back and go, why did we own multiple cars that sat in our driveway 90% of the time?
Or if you're in any part of the southwestern metro area of Portland, on my street, why are all the cars on my street? Every car. Like, why are you parking them here? Every person in the metro area. No, we have a lot of cars that just sit and don't move in our neighborhood very much. And it's very discouraging when you're using your vehicle and trying to find a place to park. I'm not telling you anything new with your neighborhood.
My neighborhood is very similar, but I mean, we're already starting to see this with like Uber and Lyft and these on-demand car that revolutionized not only the taxi service, but there's a lot of people that can get by with just taking an Uber ride when they need to go somewhere if they don't, need to drive consistently all the time. But then you also have things like public transport so that have changed things. But I think we will continue to see innovation on that. And then the other thing that I know you're also a fan of is just the VR AR space. I think that these next couple of years, there was some news over the new year that like the Oculus app on iOS was like the number one downloaded app because everybody, or got Quest, the Quest, Meta Quest. Yes. The Facebook's Meta VR goggles, those have just been selling like hotcakes, and they're pretty limited use on what you can do with them. But of course, Apple's rumored to have something coming out, in the next year or two in this space. There was some of the CES coverage of AR glasses that look somewhat normal, unlike the Google Glass that made you look like a cyborg. And I think that there's a lot of potential for that to really change things in a lot of ways as well.
I agree.
And other than that, just give me better cameras every year in the iPhone,
Yeah. Well, you're probably going to get your wish, and they're going to keep you on the hook buying one each year.
Yes. But it's crazy when you do look back at like where technology was 6 years ago when we started the podcast, where it is now, just between all the different gadgets and how much more accessible so many things are. It is pretty fun, and why we keep doing this. You know what else is pretty fun? Dave's Pro Tip of the Week.
Yes, sir. And who likes things more fun than a service repair program?
Ooh,
am I right? High
yes.
fives? Anyone? So I actually don't know that I shared this with you, and I had it in my back pocket and nearly forgot about it. But several weeks ago, probably with my time, which is never accurate. This was probably a couple months ago, let's be honest with you. So a couple months ago, I started noticing that my AirPods just did not sound good. It sounded like if you have a stereo system, it sounded like the subwoofer was broken. It'd get too loud and it just kind of.
Yes.
Which is really weird because I don't turn them up that loud. I mainly listen to podcasts and stuff like that. So I had been reading about this AirPod Pro service program. And so I schlepped into the Apple store one day and I realized people don't always have Apple stores near them. You can also use Post to send them in. But the lady who was helping me took them into the back for about 15 minutes. They have some type of diagnostics machine that she put my AirPods into. And she came back and says, yep, they look like they're both exhibiting problems and we're going to replace both of them for free. And so I kept my case and she brought out 2 AirPods along with the ear tips and gave them to me. And I put them in my case, let them charge. I had to wait a little while for the firmware to update or something. You don't have to, but that was a recommendation because they may have been sitting in the box for a while. After a while, just put them in and use them like normal. And they've been performing the same ever since. So my pro tip to you is do not suffer with inferior sound on your AirPods Pro. We've talked about the older versions of the AirPods of how to clean them and do all this stuff. The AirPods Pro have the tips, which have a kind of a built-in screen to help keep debris and wax and those type of things out of the actual AirPod itself. And so used properly, your AirPods should look and sound good for many, many years to come till the batteries die eventually.
Yes.
But if they sound kind of weird to you, tinny or twangy, what's the word? Twingy? Did I just coin a new phrase?
Yes.
Like something's broken, they are. Take them in and get a replacement. You paid probably upwards $200, $250 for these things. So don't suffer through bad sound. And there will be a link in the show notes that links to an Apple support article. And I'm going to go there now. And it basically just says, hey, here's what we found to be the problem. If your AirPods were manufactured before October of 2020. So this was just before last Christmas, anytime last year before Christmas-ish time, then you may have an affected unit. So if you have an older one, I used them for a year and they started exhibiting problems. I got 2 brand new AirPods that'll last at least another couple of years. So
very nice.
You might as well take advantage of it before they stop offering the program.
Yeah, no, that's a good reminder that, if you're having issues, try contacting customer service. Your results may vary, but Apple is usually pretty good about taking care of you if something has gone wrong. And that
they're not perfect, but they usually will help fix any issues that arise.
Yes, which is a good thing to have available to you. Well, good thinking on that. The takes of the week, I was talking about my sweet 2004 Honda CR-V, which doesn't seem to have this problem, but Honda clocks are stuck 20 years in the past and there isn't a fix. Now, I was like, oh, my car is probably affected, but then I realized my car is not advanced enough to track the hour or the year. It tracks the time.
The most powerful computer in your car is the iPhone that's sitting on your dash.
Yes. My 2004, there was not as many computer stuff in there. There's no display. It's just it's actually a 6-disc changer is my stereo in there. But so there was an issue with now that we're in 2022 that it moved it back 20 years on your clock and you can't fix it. So yes, if you have a Honda or Acura and your clock is showing 2002, that is the reasoning. And
is the day and the date correct? It's just the year is wrong.
So January 1st, 2002 in the picture they have here.
It says a Sunday. So what was January
Sunday,
1st?
which was actually Saturday this year.
So it's a day off. Oh, that would drive me crazy. The year I don't care so much about, but the day and date.
Yeah. Usually you can keep track of the year, but so that's a issue there. And then the other big 2022 bug, this is when Y2K actually happened, was 22 years later, that Microsoft releases emergency fix for Exchange year 2022 bug. So back in the day, many companies had servers at their physical location that ran all their email stuff. Now, most companies have moved to either Google Workspace or Microsoft's offerings for cloud email, where it's in some server farm. But the on-prem, as they call it in the biz, caused it so that the servers were no longer delivering email. Minor detail.
Yeah, that's kind of important these days in business, I think.
Yes. So they do have a patch for that. But interesting that the year 2022, here's from Bleeping Computer. However, this variable can store only a maximum value of 2,147,483,647, which is less than the new date value of 2,201,010,001 for January 1st, 2022 at midnight. So the storage space allocated to time no longer could contain time.
So back in the day, a lot of these programmers had very limited hardware and software to work with. And so they had to cut all these corners, and they never did anticipate that their programs would be used 40 years into the future. So that's where a lot of these problems stem from. But it also are people being lazy and cutting corners and not doing things the right way. That's also a thing that causes these problems.
Yes, and it seems like that they could have been proactive and fixed this within the last 40 years, knowing that this date was going to happen. But apparently nobody remembered. So,
of course.
And speaking of 40 years in the past, Atari has announced that they're going to release or have an exclusive drop of unreleased editions of Atari 2600 cartridges. So they are making basically new games for the Atari 2600, actual physical cartridges that would plug into an Atari 2600 machine. Now, it seems like alongside this, they might want to make like actual new Atari 2600 machines because there's probably not a whole lot of them left anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't think there would be.
There's Yar's Return. There is Saboteur and Aquaventure. So you can pre-order these Atari 2600 games, which is just pretty random that, here we are in the year 2022, as we've referenced many times, releasing new cartridges for a video game system that is probably 40 years old now.
Probably came out in the early 80s.
Yes.
So
somewhere in that range. But if you are, I think I have an Atari 2600. I have one of the very similar. Maybe I should dig that out of the garage and see if I need to pre-order these games to play some new ones on there.
You're one of the 6 people that will have something to play them on.
Yes. And the other direction, technology going further away, the BlackBerry services have been officially turned off. So they still had some of them going for the older BlackBerry devices. As we know, BlackBerries were very popular in the pre-iPhone, let's say, and they have turned off all these servers, and you can no longer use your BlackBerry device, which, again, if any of our listeners are currently using a BlackBerry device, please let us know.
That would be very interesting to see.
Yes.
Yeah, they were ahead of their time in a lot of these, in a lot of ways. They just got kind of stuck in, in their times,
Yes.
and they let the market erode. But yeah, they tremendous devices and tremendous service that a lot of business people relied on.
Yes. And then we have our last take is some news out of China that I just thought was interesting from the South China Morning Post. China gaming crackdown, freeze on new video game licenses extends into 2022 as 14,000 gaming-related firms shut down. So regulators have not released a list of approved new video game titles since the end of July, marking the longest suspension since a 9-month hiatus in 2018.
China, if you want a revolution, this is how you get a revolution.
Yes.
Or
yes.
you limit the number of hours that children can play video games, and then you shut down all the stuff for new games.
All new gaming?
Yeah. What in the world are they doing over there? It's almost like they're a communist country or something.
Almost, yes. It is a different world over there.
And not surprisingly, when I was mentioning the countries last week of our listeners, and we thank you all so much across the world, there's not one listener from China that I saw on there. Very interesting.
Yes, the Great Firewall must have us blocked over there. Yeah. Would be the only reason we wouldn't have a plethora of listeners.
I mean, people are lining up over there to listen to us, I'm sure.
Yes. Well, on to our bonus odd take of the week. This is one that I came across. It's the OneZoom Tree of Life Explorer.
Wow.
An interactive map of the evolutionary links between all living things known to science. Discover your favorites, see which species are under threat, and be amazed by the diversity of life on Earth.
Are they telling me to be amazed? Or
be amazed already.
Come on.
Yes.
Just because you told me to, I don't want to be amazed now.
Yes. Yes. So they have just this project. It's a .org, so might be a nonprofit, but they have different views of, like it says, everything that is alive or has ever been alive has a place somewhere on the complete tree of life.
I clicked on the great whales and I was expecting to see some beach pictures of some people in skimpy swimming suits who are rather large, but instead I'm greeted by actual whales, and so that was a little surprising.
Yes, but yeah, very, very interesting, especially if you're into living things.
If you're into the world or something, to life.
Yes, very educational, and I'm sure you could suck a lot of time into this, and it looks pretty impressive. Just all the information here that is done in a appealing way.
Did you know, Nate, that whales' scientific classification are kingdom, Animalia, and let me say that again: kingdom, Animalia, phylum, Chordata, and class, Mammalia? Did you know they're mammals? Did you know that whales are mammals?
Jeez, educational.
I think everybody
tip of the
knew
week.
That, but it makes me sound smart when I say it like that.
Yes, so they have a lot of information there on the site, and then they're doing a lot of stuff for education purposes, obviously, and then science. But you can go there and check it out.
I will do that. It looks pretty darn cool.
Yes, and you should also check out our picks of the week.
So Nate, how do I say this? What if I make a pick that's kind of a pick, but not really a pick? Or it's not really. It's maybe recommended, but there's a lot of caveats. So
interesting.
I'll just start. So I recently purchased Samsung's The Frame TV. And yes, it's not Samsung Frame. It's Samsung The Frame TV.
Yeah.
And I bought the 55-inch version. It was on sale kind of before Christmas, and then it went back up to full price, and then it kind of went back down almost to its sale price again. And so I snagged one because we're redoing our living room here, and it would have worked great. The Frame TV, for those of you who don't know, is a very thin TV. We're talking like an inch, something like that, thin. For all of you, those of you in the UK, I think that's about 3 centimeters or something like that. It's very thin. It's got kind of a zero type mount, zero clearance mount, where it mounts right on the wall, just like you hung a picture on the wall. And then it's got a small fiber optic cable that carries both the power and data. Now, I know how power works. There's some cable in there, some copper cable in there somewhere that's delivering the power.
Yes.
But it's very small and very thin, just a round cord about the size of like your headphone cord, like that thin. There's a box on the other end where you plug in all your components and everything. But you can hide the cable in the wall so that it looks like a piece of art. And you're like, well, why can't I do that with any TV? Well, Samsung, the frame, has a special art mode that it goes into where it will adjust the luminance to match the lighting in your room. And so if the lights are dim, it will darken down. And if it's bright, it'll brighten up. So it's meant to trick your eye into thinking it's a work of art on the wall. And there's even magnetic frames that you can get that snap onto the outer very small bezel to make it even look more like a piece of art sitting on your wall. So when you're not watching it as a TV, and it's a very fine TV, you hit a button and it's in art mode and it looks like it's on your wall, like a piece of art. So the reason it's kind of a convoluted pick of the week is because I have one. Yes. Do I like it? Yes. Am I going to keep it? Possibly not. The reason being is at CES, they announced a new one that's coming out in a few months. And I'm like, I was going to say, you know what? I don't, it's fine as it is, but there are a couple little things about it that drive me crazy. When there's, let's say you pause the screen or something like that on black and it's on full brightness, there's these weird kind of light gray splotches throughout. It's not a solid black. It's very uneven black. And I'm just like, that is strange. And it's in the same spots. It doesn't change. It's kind of, so there's like hot spots in it. And I'm like, I paid a lot of money for this TV. There shouldn't be any hot spots in this thing.
Yeah.
Now you don't notice it through regular viewing, but like when it's like just on a pure black screen, I'm just like, what is going on? So that's a small thing. And I'm willing to overlook that. The other thing was, and I think I may have figured it out, but I have turned off, and all of you at home should do this, turned off all of the magic, true tone, frame interpolation, picture smoothing, all this garbage that completely ruins the look of anything. So I've literally spent probably 5 hours going through this, testing out pictures, because it's me, right?
Yeah.
Putting my own artwork on there, doing various things. But you'll go into a movie, you'd be watching a movie, and then it'll switch to like a dark scene, and it's exposed correctly, but then it goes like darker. Like about a half second later, like it's there, and then it like dims. And I'm like, I've turned off all the auto dimming. I've turned off all the background, the black level, auto, everything. Weird. And it still did it. So it drove me crazy. I think I may have finally found the issue and fixed the issue. But I'm just like, this is a lot of headache. I've almost spent 3 months testing this thing out just to get it set right. Maybe I should wait for the new one to come out. So anyway, the reason I'm recommending it on one hand is because there's nothing else like it. I have searched high and low. No other manufacturer does an art gallery TV like this. Some of them have an art mode feature, but they're not the same thing. They don't try to emulate a real picture on your wall. It's just like, hey, put a picture. And it usually only stays there for a couple minutes and then rotates to a new picture, because on OLED screens, you'll get screen burn in. Oh. And so a couple of the OLEDs have this feature. So don't bother doing the research. Samsung is the only one playing this game. So it's either take it or leave it. If you have a smaller space and wanted to get a smaller one at an affordable price, I'd say it's probably a pretty good deal. For the larger ones, if you're going to be investing upwards of $1,500, $2,000 for one of the larger ones, we didn't get a really big one. I say you might want to wait till the new version comes out. They've got a new kind of matte display that makes the artwork even more convincing. Oh yeah. From up close. I don't know. It's really fun. Now, Nate, have you ever really heard much about these frame TVs except for what I've talked about?
Only you. I think I had heard reference to them before, but I know that you have been looking at this for a long time, and we're excited to finally have one coming.
Anyway, they're good. And if you're looking for this type of thing, there's really nothing else you can get. So I'd say if you want one of these, need one of these, etc., go for it.
It's the one to go for.
It's really the only one to get. But if you have a few months to wait, you might wait for the new version to come out. It may be more money. I do not know. And there's definitely not going to be a sale on it right away.
Yeah.
So maybe I should just take the few $100s that I saved and stick with this thing and take my licks as they come along, or maybe I'll send it along and have them take it back and get the new one when it comes out. I don't know. So we'll see.
As with so many things in the technology world, that it's just so close. It's so close to being exactly what you want, being so happy with it. But there's just these little things that
and there's one big one. One big one, and this affects more than just this TV. And actually, for people who purchased a TV who did a recent firmware update, there are now ads in the menu screen that you can look at. And there were a lot of people in the forums who were very sad to wake up one day to their new firmware update only to see that there's an addition of ads on the TV that they spent $1,000 for.
Come on.
Yeah. I'm going to be going into a deep dive at some point to block all Samsung ad services on my local network so that they won't even reach my TV. But come on, you need a computer networking degree in order to block ads for a TV you paid thousands of dollars for.
What a stinking pain.
Yeah. I do not like ads, as you well know.
Nice. Well, a little bit cheaper on the spectrum. My pick of the week this week is the Cleaning Gel for Car Cleaning Kit Universal Detailing Automotive Dust Car Crevice Cleaner Auto Air Vent Interior Detail Removal Putty Cleaning Keyboard Cleaner for car vents, PCs, laptops, and cameras.
I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that this is something for your car.
Yeah, well,
is that accurate?
That is part of it.
Or
yes,
PC.
Both. So what this is it's very similar to many of the slime products that my daughter owns, but it's a little more solid than some of those slimes.
It's less
are such
tacky.
A mess. And it doesn't have glitter in it and all that mess. But anyways, this comes from a company called Putty, which is worth the price of admission right there.
I'm going to buy it based on the name alone.
Yes. But I saw this, I believe it was on Cool Tools, where many of my picks come from. But it's very good for cleaning little crevices. Now, keyboards get dust in them, and also the car detailing. There's all these little things. So I picked some of this up, and it comes just in a little container with a screw top on it.
Now, Nate, come on. This is exactly like Isla's toys.
Yes, I probably could, but I'm showing it to Dave on the video. This makes for great podcasting, but it's got some good stuff on there. And then like on my keyboard.
It reminds me of cranberry sauce on Thanksgiving time. Yeah, you dump it out of the can and it's just this gelatinous cylinder.
If it wasn't bright blue, I would say that it would be cranberry sauce. But yeah, I picked some of it up because, oh man, I got a client's computer. Her laptop wasn't working the other day, and I got it, and I go, "What have you been doing have you been dusting your house with this laptop?" It was so filthy, and I didn't have this yet, but I was able to get it cleaned up for her. But yeah, just when you've got something, and sometimes, the keyboard, like I could just see a little piece of dust in there. And you just kind of gently push it down and it picks it up. And I really could use it on my car because my car's a mess. But I thought if, for our listeners out there, you can use canned air, or they have like some vacuums for your keyboard or whatever. But if you just need to keep things clean, this can be another tool in your arsenal. And it also makes great farting noises as you push it back into the container.
Yeah. Nice. Yes. I believe the automotive industry, or like the rental car companies or dealers, they use that stuff, like legitimately use a brand like that to get all into the nooks and crannies of your car. And I might actually pick some up because I've been trying to clean my car out, and I do okay, but there's always that stuff in those areas you cannot get out. But this gel stuff, you just shove it down there and it sucks it right back out.
Yes, and it's got 4 stars on 25,363 ratings on Amazon. Dave, what would you pay for the cleaning gel from Putty?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to be accurate on this, but I think that's probably around like an $18, $19 deal. And I might be high, but I think it's like a $20 deal. Am I wrong?
Dave, you are high because it was only $6.99.
Woo! Wow, I went up about $10 or $11 way too high on that
you
one.
could get like 3 for that price. So yes, if you just spent a lot of money on the Samsung photo frame TV and you need to get something cheap to clean either your car or your computer, check out Puladiki, and I'll have a link in the show notes.
We need to have something kind of right in the middle because that's kind of a range. We're talking like $6 to $1,000. I mean, that's kind of a range.
Yes. Buy yourself some AirPods. That's
go.
our pick in the middle, because AirPods are a wonderful feat of technology. Mm-hmm. Well, with that, we will wrap up this episode. 6 years going strong, and Dave, here's to another 6 years of helping people get out there and tech better. Boo. There's a zombie in your garage.
Yeesh. That guy, I think he just woke up.
Yeah. Well, it is 7:15 p.m. Boo.